All right. Previously, in the last module, we figured out how to load data from a service. And right now, the service is just an in-memory collection. But we want to level that thing up and start getting data from disk, writing to disk, using SQLite. Why SQLite? Because it's a portable file-based database that we can just use everywhere. It works on every operating system. And there's some shims, there's some tools out there that'll help us wrap SQLite so we get a great interface that we can use from inside our .NET applications. That's also a little bit of an ORM, so we don't have to write all the selects, inserts, updates, deletes, and even the create table goo around working with a relational database. So let's start wiring that up, and we'll build a page that will allow us to add feeds to the list and get feeds then from that database. So we'll save feeds, we'll get feeds from the database, and make those available on screen instead of those 4 hard-coded feeds that Fritz likes. Even though I think everybody should have my blog in their feeds. Help my viewership here. There's a guy on the team here. I want to see if I can get more views on my blog than he does. Justin, thank you so much for the resub. 7 months with us, bringing that Prime sub. Once again, all of our cheers, our subs, we're donating to our Raspberry Pi classroom project that we're assembling for the kids at St. Jude. We're putting together a computer classroom for the kids at St. Jude with the help of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. Thank you so much for your support. Let's see, is that Twitchy208? You're watching on a PlayStation but coding on your machine. Awesome. And you wrote that with a controller. Much respect. Much respect. Typing with a controller like that? Are you kidding me? Unfortunate timing for said celebration, but that's part of the gag. Yes, it is. Can't imagine the pile of hats that's around there. There's a box here of hats. And there's some on the shelf over there. And there's some hanging in the closet in the other room. There's hats. Is his name Scott? No. Let's say I have a MAUI app and I need to send info to a web API and we have no mobile signal. Can I have a background worker trying to send the data whenever I get connection back? There is a way to do that and detect when the connection comes back. There is a way to detect the network connection. I haven't done it yet, to be honest. Background worker process, I think is yeah. Why am I not typing properly? Something to add for a future version of this and continue enhancing the content of the workshop that's on disk. So update content when network connection reestablished. Yeah, I know that's possible. I don't have sample code to do that right now. Highlighted message here from Narnia Expert. I'm running Visual Studio 2022 on Windows 7, but the framework is Net 7, Windows 10.0, blah, 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 blah. Is it impossible for me to build anything because it's trying to run a Windows 10 application on Windows 7? Yes. .NET MAUI runs on Windows 10, Windows 11, macOS. Our friend Jeremy Sinclair had a collection of those supported platforms for us in a link earlier today. I will share that link and we'll put that up on the screen. There you go. So .NET MAUI apps work on Android 5, API level 21 or higher, iOS 11, macOS 10.15 or higher using Mac Catalyst, Win 11, and Win 10. Windows 7 is not a supported platform by Microsoft any longer, so it does not work with that. BizCAD, I would prefer an HTTP client to do that type of delayed push, receiving a notification when the network is reestablished, and have that event trigger and push the update. So, all right. So we had this thing with the hard-coded news feeds at this point. Let's wire up a database to this thing. A real database. I'm a real database. So I'm going to grab the documentation for that. Yes, there it is. Because there's some shims that you need to put into the mix right now to get this working. This link is in the module 2 notes inside the workshop. And I'm going to end up shuffling these things around a little bit to match how we've gone through it today, because I like the way that this has flowed today. We want to have a local database with this configuration, the personal information that we're using inside of our project. How do we do that? Well, just like everything else in .NET, there's a NuGet package that has those features. That should be a soundbite. I'm a real database. Clip it. Clip it. We can make that happen. And then we can send it over to our friends on the Entity Framework team. When their compiles build, that's what it's going to say. When it's done compiling, I'm a real database. Okay. So there's a NuGet package that'll get you access to the SQLite database so that you can work with. There's just a slight update that you need to get in here. There's 2 packages you need. SQLite NET PCL and SQLite PCL Raw Bundle Green. Man, it's a mouthful. You aren't going to find these things easily. These are third-party libraries. These are third-party wrappers that will work inside your .NET MAUI application. If you've been following along and you used the demo code that I started you with, this is actually already added to the project. They're already here for you. Okay? So you don't need to think about going and finding these things. I've already got them in the box for you. So the next steps we need to do are actually wiring up and using these things. So let's get to that. Let's pull these together. Where to go here? All right. I'm just trying to keep an eye on chat at the same time here as we're going along. It needs a style file to become alive. You can't believe that Microsoft lets you install Visual Studio 2022 with MAUI on Windows 7 when your device can't run anything. That's a good question. Yeah. It should block you from doing that, I think. Sure. That's a good bit of feedback. Jean Valjean 80 with the sub. Thank you so much. That's coder 24601 to you. Hello. Thank you so much. Justin with the clip. There we go. I'm a real database. Thank you so much for the resub, and we'll make another donation to our computer classroom project with the Raspberry Pi Foundation for the kids at St. Jude. Much appreciate. All right, so we have these libraries here. Now we can start going through and wiring up so that we're actually loading the database. And these folks in this bit of documentation suggest creating a constants, not constants, but constant class here that has things like the database file name and the other properties about the database that we're going to use when working with it. So I've already copied this file into the project for you. It's sitting down here, hiding sneakily at the bottom of your Solution Explorer. And there's the name of the database file we're going to create, My Newsfeeds DB3. No EF for MAUI yet? I don't think so. No. I don't remember. Quite frankly, I'm always using MAUI with HTTP clients so that I can hit a web service because my database is behind a firewall and I want mobile folks to be able to access. So here's the constants, the configuration for working with that database. Next time with Echo, all right. I still have a little bit of coffee left. How the heck did that happen? So we need to do some things to make sure that that code is able to find the database, able to work with it. So we need to actually have that SQLite database available somewhere out here. So I'm going to leave the HTTP client there, and I'm going to define a SQLite async connection that we can connect with. I'm also going to add a method that will allow me to initialize the connection to the database, and I'll just call that init. Init is going to check to see if we have a database mapped here. If we do, return. It's already initialized. If we don't, create a SQLite async connection to the local database on disk with the flags that we requested. I want to be able to read, write, create, and enable multi-threading for shared caching capability. If we've just created that, then we also need to create the table. This will fail gracefully if the table already exists. So we're going to create a table for the newsfeed object. Easy. Piece of cake. So with that in mind, that built, now I can go back up here and in my getFeeds method here, instead of just saying return whatever's in that collection, I can say, well, first, make sure that thing's initialized. Then we're going to await, let's say, database table. We're going to reach into the newsfeed table, and I just want to return the content. Come here, you. To list async. Done. So I've got a collection of news feeds that are being dumped out, made available right there in that method. Will this episode have a permanent link so you can rewatch it later? It's going to be on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/C#Fritz. So we'll be publishing sometime next week. Broken out, it'll be a playlist with a bunch of stuff. How would you protect so just the app connects to the API besides UP? UP? Help me out there. Yeah, it won't be on that playlist. They'll be on mine. Oh, besides username, password. So the trick is if you're going to put an API key down inside your app, folks can decompile your app and get to your API key. So you do need a certain amount of login, issue a key, and then you're in and working. So a certain amount of that is needed. Okay, so we have a method here that's going to get those feeds out of that database. And if we restart this, we should end up with an empty screen. Not gonna lie, that's gonna be lame. Rerun that thing. And oh, Fritz. The database file I was working with is still there on disk. Spoiler alert. Gosh. Let me go delete that. Right. That is sitting. Actually, where is it on disk? Let's ask that question, huh? Why don't we go through and figure that out? So where is it living on disk, this database path? Here, right? Let's put a breakpoint there and see where it actually is. So the app data, it's in my app data directory, right? So if we add a watch to that, file system is ambiguous. You punk. So if it's in my app data directory, right? I can go something like that. And you can see my app data folder over here and Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, which folder did it put it in? Right, bring that back. Right. Where'd it put it? I should be able to cursor over. Where'd it go? Go back to that in NET. Let's go find this. We know where this is. Let's just break it out. Right? Now we can put a breakpoint right there. We can take a look at what path it created. There's that. I don't like that breakpoint. I like that breakpoint. So now the path is app data local packages. Ugh. App data local packages and 33 echo. Wow, it's really down there. Local state. There it is. I'm going to delete that. And now, there it is. And it wrote the file into that folder. There it is. Okay. Packages. Yes. So, it's written and it's, right, Windows knows how to hide and put that with the app data on disk for your profile. And there's no content in that database, so I have no news feeds. Cool. Next steps. Let's add news feeds. How do we add news feeds? So let's write a method that adds a news feed, right? So I'll add it here. Public async task. Just a task. I'm not returning anything. We're going to add feed, and we need a source URL, and we need a title. Right? Oh, are you kidding? Get back here, Copilot. Oh, look at that. It's pretty good. I'd like it like that, though. So Copilot just completed that for me. Give me a new news feed and insert it into the database. Chris Funk with a question here. Where's the database object coming from in the service class? This init method that we're calling in the various Methods does a check to see if there is a database. If not, go create and put one in there. Will this workshop discuss how to sync the database entries you have on my Windows machine and my Android device? Asks Sax Guy with Dogs. No, but that is a fantastic topic for another time. That is a fantastic topic for another time. Introducing a web service to send feeds to along with current state, have it download to the other. Yes, that is a fantastic topic. Not for today. So, no problem, Chris Funk. Happy to get you that update. So, I could actually, instead of calling init in every method, I could move it into the constructor. This is fine. It drops out immediately anyway. So now I've got a method that will add feeds, but in order for me to add feeds, I need a screen. So let's create a screen for folks to be able to add feeds. So, fortunately, we've got one. We've already started it, and I've already defined a view model to go with it, and a title that's just quite simply add newsfeed. So, what does the view model for this look like? Can I F12 and jump to that? I can. Public partial class, blah, blah, blah. We need a constructor that's going to receive that same news feed service. Thank you. And while you're at it there, Visual Studio, stash that in a read-only variable. Appreciate it. We need now, we're going to do two-way binding this time. Not just a property that we're going to put read-only into a label on screen, but we're going to receive data coming in from the user interface that we can work with here. So let's create, no, not a relay command. Let's create a string for the source URL that we want to go and add something to. And we will make that an observable property. We will also add an observable property for the title of the feed that we're going to add. All right. And we'll add a command at the bottom here. Yeah. You think you know what I'm doing here? Go ahead. Go ahead, Copilot. You tell me what we want to write there. I'll wait. Okay. Async task. We're going to save feed. And we'll save that feed asynchronously. Do you know how to do that one? I think Copilot might be onto something, though. No. It's not going to get it. Yeah, I moved the cameras, so I don't think it's lined up right to pick this one off yet. We'll get there. But it's my Penn State dad hat. That's right. Yeah. So if this is busy, right? Not if it's busted. And otherwise, we're going to say is busy equals true, because we're going to start working here. There will be a finally at the bottom here where we say is busy equals false. Go ahead and start generating some code there for me, because we know that's a thing. While it's saved, not while, but after we've marked it as busy, let's tell it service, add feed, and we're going to add the source URL and then the title. Nothing to it. We should put another catch in here. Debug, right line, unable to save the feed. And let's put a, oh, look at that. Thank you. Copilot, save the day and finish that one with a message and OK on the end. What is the hat command supposed to do? The hat command that folks are executing there's a artificial intelligence that's watching chat. And what it will do is it takes a picture of my hat, runs against a database of all of my hats, and will tell you which hat I'm wearing and a little bit of information about it, when I got it, little things like that. Was there... Yes, I am in Visual Studio today. And the last thing that I want to do after we're done saving the feed, I want to navigate back to the main page. Well, this is a little weird. So I'm going to reach into that app shell that controls navigation. And it's not going to find it. And I want to tell it, go to another page. And we're going to tell it, go to the main page. Well, the main page is the root page of the application. And we refer to that with / main page. So after we're done saving, if it's saved properly, it will, even if it didn't save properly, it's going to go to the main page when it's done. All right. I probably want a cancel button on this page that'll just bail out also. So let's add that. And let's make that a command that we can wire up to a button. That's a command we can wire up to a button. Looks good. Does this clear the navigation stack? No. Nope. So you could technically go back and get back to the add page. Yeah, can we relax on the hat commands? Not gonna lie. All right, so I've got a little bit of content here for the add page. Over here in the add newsfeed, I've already wired up to receive the view model and set it as the binding context. So I've already put the view model and the data type in here for that view model so that it knows how to do it, and we have a nice title on the top of the screen, add newsfeed. So let's make a simple little layout here for folks to be able to key in that newsfeed. Hey there, Stelzy, good to see you. And we'll save that data. So let's do a simple vertical stack layout. Why isn't it auto-completing? Are you kidding? That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. Pretty good. I can leave that the way it is, and we're almost there. With table entry there for the feed name, table entry for the feed URL, and then a button at the bottom that's going to call, it's not add feed command, save feed async command is what it's going to be. And it's not feed name and feed URL. It is source URL and source and title. So let's call this title. There we go. And now I've got a simple add feed page. Okay. Couple things we need to do to finish this off. Back in MAUI program, we need to make sure that it knows about this page. So about the view model, about this page. So we've defined those so it knows how to do dependency injection and give us those properties, those classes loaded with the content we need. So it already knows how to give us the news service. Now it knows how to give us that view model. Next steps. We need to know how to navigate to here, and we need a button that gets us here. So let's go back to the main page here, and let's wrap this whole shebang in a grid so we can force at the bottom of the screen a button that says Add Feed. So I will create a grid, and we're going to put some column definitions to this. Quite frankly, I want this to have 2 columns side by side. You'll see why we need the second column in a minute. Thank you. Column spacing. Let's put, not 54, 5 pixels between them. Next is row definitions. So fill up as much of the screen as possible, and then automatically size the bottom row where we're going to put our Add Newsfeed button. And I don't need any spacing between those. All right. Cool. The collection view, let's make sure that that spans. I'll reach back into the grid object above, and I'll say column span equals 2. So it's the full width of the grid. And I'll go after the collection view. Now I'll add a button. No, not a label. A button. We'll put some text here that says add feed. We want this to appear in grid row 1. Grid row 0 is the top. Grid row 1 is the bottom. And for right now, let's have this span both columns. Just to put it out there. That looks hideous, but it's XAML, so I guess that's a thing. We need a command for this to execute. Yeah. I need an add feed command. Some way, hey, here's a command that's gonna go show me how to add that feed. So back in the news feed view list, right? This is the one that goes with the main page. We need a command to go with that. Please stop with the hat commands. Folks have been hitting that so often. Please stop. So we need an async task, and this is going to be. It's not add feed async. Just add feed. Okay. And what this is going to do, await shell current, go to async. I know where I'm going. I'm going to go to the add. We need to give it an address. So I'm going to tell it to go to the add newsfeed page. The true here says animate that. So we get a nice easing and animation between the 2 pages. That's almost it to connect up the navigation here. The last piece to do that navigation is in the app shell. Hey, Curious Drive. Hello, hello. And I've already added a little helper method here, and I'm already calling it to set up these other pages we're going to route to. Let's talk about these. I'll move add feed to the top here. There, now it's alphabetical. Add news feed. We're going to register for routing. We have routing in our shell, just like we do in ASP.NET Core. So we have a routing object in the app shell. We're going to register a page for routing. That page is going to have a name that's the same as its type. Look at that. It makes sense. Take whatever that type is, name it the same thing. Just put the type there. And the page that we're going to route it to is whatever type was submitted. So we're going to register a page called the string add newsfeed. And it's going to connect to the page called add newsfeed. All right. So this works. We can do this. That makes a lot of sense to me as an ASP.NET person. Let's try this. See if this works. Is there a preview for the XAML as in Windows native apps? No. What did we do here? Closing tag for grid not found. Oh, look at that. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Property save feed async command not found. Save feed async. That's a relay command that should have built. All right. Now, that should be base view model title. It's right there. Let's clean and rebuild. Feels like something code gen'd wrong. Nah, it's not that it needs to be public. I don't think it's code genning right. Yeah, the stuff that it's code generating isn't... Yeah, look at this down here. Error reading contents of the source files. Let me restart Visual Studio. Just because I have a feeling that something's stuck in the way that code gen was running. What does clean do? Asks Fries Diskin. Clean deletes all the content in the bin and obj folders so that you can rerun your application. Right? When you build, there's nothing sitting on disk that it's going to get confused with. So I can see the little indicator here that it was doing some background tasks. But no underlines there. Save feed async command. Let's do this. I'm going to F12 on that. Let's see what it code genned back here. There's the title. Source URL. We're going to be looking at this in a little bit. No, it didn't generate the... Sure, go ahead and normalize it. That's fine. Async task. Yeah. With a relay command. Save feed async. And then in the XAML is save feed command. There it is. Look at that. Ah, gosh. There we go. Deploy succeeded, and we should be able to... There we go. I got a little add feed button down there at the bottom. I'll click that. It navigates over here. Feed name, feed URL. So let's call this Fritz's blog, feed URL. Gosh. I have that URL sitting in the README for this. I'll copy it. And it is a... Is that going to work? Add, and it comes back here and there's no content. It saved it to disk, but it never refreshed. And there's my blog. Let's put a refresh button down here to force the so that you can force the refresh to show the new content. There is an event you can handle when it's coming back to go and and reload it. Would the title in add newsfeed view model override the base title? If I bound the base title there, it would. Yes. Oh! You're right. That's got the same name. Let's call it feed title. Good catch. Call this. There we go. Yeah, I had double named it. There we go. All right. So I have it. It's saving. I really should refresh. And let's make sure that cancel button works too. Right? Because we added it. Well, we added a cancel capability. Did we add a cancel button to the screen? No, just an add feed button. Let's put a cancel button out there also. Right, so I'll do this as a horizontal stack layout, just so we can do something a little bit different. We'll have that save feed button. I'll add another button here that says cancel. They're not going to be the same size if I do it this way. Do it as a grid. 2 side by side. Cancel command, and I'll say grid column equals 1, so it appears next to the other one. And now we have a cancel button that'll appear on that add page. We can click and navigate back. Right, so add feed, and oh, I don't want to be here, cancel, and it navigates back. Okay. We need a refresh button over there on the main page, so that we can reload content. So in the view model over here, I added relay command over get feeds. Let's just call that again. With a refresh button down here. Right? So I'll put this in grid column 1. And I'll call this refresh feeds. Get feeds command. Done. So now I've got 2 buttons that'll appear at the bottom. One that does the refresh. And you see it refreshing my content briefly there. And I've got a way to add feeds over here. So let's add the Microsoft DevTools blog. So, gosh, and it's a pain in the neck to key in the name here, isn't it? Right, I could call this whatever I wanted here. Right, Foo Magoo, and I don't know what Foo Magoo is. And add that, and there's Foo Magoo. Like, all right, that's a thing. I'd really like it if we could derive that title from the actual feed itself. We also need to start getting into fetching data from these feeds. So let's start writing a method to go get the feed data inside of our service, return it as that RSS object so that we can put the actual title of the feed on this screen. So I'm going to close that. Go back over to the feed service, and this is, right, folks were asking about using HTTP client and getting data. Let's do it. Let's start getting some data over here to work with inside the application. So let's pause for a second. Chargoy has a question for us. Let me bring up the Back to visual. Here we go. I want to bring up your question on the screen here so we can talk. There we go. In this case, we have a simple object that we're saving with title and source URL properties. And we created those as properties. But what happens when your object has lots of properties? Do I need to create those properties too? Or is there an easy way? Is there an easy way to create all of those properties? You're going to need an object that corresponds to that, those things that you want to save. And I put them in the view model so there was a clean place of where they're being copied back and forth. You could certainly copy and paste properties out of your source file and paste them into the other file, and that'll get you most of the way there. So, I mean, and then decorate all those with the here, right? Decorating them with the observable properties. This is worlds easier than what folks were doing before, where they were generating all of those notifications inside of all of their properties. It was ridiculous how much code folks were writing to accomplish that. Yes, it is a bit of left-right code management. Totally agree. Can you streamline that, or by passing a complex object? I don't think so. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I'd have to tinker. But yes, you do end up copying and pasting a lot with this type of model. Fortunately, though, it's kind of dummy proof, right? It's kind of the same simple copying and pasting back and forth on this content. Let me see. It's Brun with a question here as well. I'm sorry. It's Brunna. Can we start with the get feed when we enter the main page to refresh every time the page is brought up? So that's actually what we have happening every time the news feed list view model is created. Actually, that's a singleton. What if we made that transient? So it creates a new one, right? I mean, if it's a singleton, we should actually be able to send a message over there as well that says, oh, do this. Let's add a new feed. I've got a collection of them here on that, in that README that we can go to. Let's get the .NET subreddit. Right? I'll just call this Reddit. There's the .NET subreddit. Yeah, see, it still doesn't. But if I refresh, there it is. There is a way to do this, and I'm going to figure it out and get it in here. This was another one of these things where I got to the end and I'm writing my documentation. I went, ah, crumbs, that should refresh every time, and it doesn't. So I will add that to my list of things to fix here. And if we do get it fixed, I'll add notes appropriately in the documentation. All right. So I've got content over here. I'd really like to derive those names when I create them from the site that they're pulling from. Narnia Expert, congratulations with a gift sub from The Wrapped. Much appreciate the gift sub. Thank you so much. And we'll make another donation to our Raspberry Pi classroom we're putting together for the kids at St. Jude. Much appreciate that support. All right, so let's start wiring up so we can get data from that service. So where'd it go? Newsfeed service, right? That's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's write a method. Shouldn't it be the newsfeed list view model changed to transient? Isn't that what I... Oh, I changed the wrong one. Should have been that one. Put that back. No, I added the wrong one. Thank you. See if that picks up. I don't think so. How you doing there, The Wrapped? Thank you so much for that gift sub. That was very kind. Tell you what, I'm gonna clear this out. Let's delete that little database. That's not it. Where was it? Was in app data. Don't want to go see you. I don't want you watching me traipse all around my drive here. And it was in app data local. Packages. There we go. Delete that so we can recreate here. There we go. Empty. We'll add a feed, and we'll start with my blog again. Where'd it go? This one. And now add feed. And yeah, it still doesn't refresh. No. No. Do I push to GitHub from time to time? I do. I haven't during this session. There's nothing for me to update out there yet. I'm going to move on and get into the service here to start loading this data. But you were right. It feels like that should have been it. But I believe because the page is still in memory, the main page is still in memory, it didn't delete that. It didn't recreate it. So we need to do something so that when you come back into the page, and there's an on appearing in there. Like, we should be able to reach in and just, when the page appears, go reload this thing. Right, and we can kind of futz with that if we wanted to. So there's an event handler in here. On... Yeah, where is it? There it is, on appearing. Right, and if this is... right, we have it stashed in the binding context. If this is a singleton... no. Right. If I did something like that, I could say... Oh, store a copy of that. I should be able to call get feeds. Get feeds command is there. Right, if I made that... No. Right, if I just ran that... Yeah, go ahead, rebuild and apply. Now when it comes back in, it'll fire that. No, I don't want to await. No. Let's add Reddit there. There it goes. Because I've got that extra call in there to force it. So, because the get feeds method here it updates this object that is being observed and sends the notification up the stack. So that definitely works. It's not, there's better ways to do that, I believe. But we got there. All right, we have about 3 hours left. I have 3 more ads to run. Let's do this before we start the parts here where we're getting the actual RSS. Thank you, Juan. Oh my gosh, that's very kind. Very appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you're getting something out of this, and this is kind of fitting together for you. And I hope what folks are seeing is I'm slowly moving towards the content that's in that top level source folder in the GitHub repository. That's where you're going to see. Right, we're going to end up with that content when we're done the day here. I want to make sure, though, that let's thank our friends from Progress Software. You may have seen I've been drinking from a Progress Software coffee cup here. Big thanks to them for supporting the stream, for promoting, letting folks know about this. I don't have a video for them, but I do want to make sure you know they've got a set of Blazor components that are available out there. The Blazor. .NET MAUI components that are available out there. These are an evolution of their Xamarin components that are built and work everywhere in .NET MAUI. Charts, data grid, date picker, tab view. They have the biggest collection of controls that are available. Document processing libraries, very frequent releases. They release, I believe it's 3 times a year that they're pushing new features out there. Award-winning support that you're going to get from them. There's documentation. There's folks that are broadcasting on Twitch, on YouTube. Great stuff available from the folks at Progress. Check them out on the Code It Live channel. You can find them regularly building with .NET MAUI, speaking at different conferences, making presentations. They run the DevReach conference in Bulgaria every year. That's going to be coming up at some point here. Usually it's in the fall. Big thanks to them. They've been doing a ton here for MAUI developers, and not just MAUI developers. There's all kinds of tools for any kind of user interface framework you're looking for. So, huge thanks to them for their support today, helping get the word out and letting folks know about this process that we're going through, and what we're going to be building, and helping folks like you out there learn more about .NET MAUI. So, big thanks to them. And I want to make sure folks know we do have one more component vendor that we're going to be thanking later today. We're going to thank. We also have folks from Syncfusion that have been helping out with sending messages and letting folks know about the event. All of these component vendors make fantastic tools. Check out what they've got for you out there. They've all got demo versions available that you can download and try, and they want you to be successful. So I encourage you. There's lots of great stuff that they do for the community, helping folks out. When you buy their products, you're helping out other developers because they pay it forward in giving free training, in giving travel and speaking at conferences, not just about their product, but about the tools and technologies that those products help with. So, all right, let's go through and start talking about loading these RSS feeds and actually processing some of that data. We did the SQLite content here, but let's go over here and let's actually get those RSS feed information, right? Let's get the data from those locations. So I'm going to put another method out here in my service, right? So this is that service class that we're using to go and fetch data from disk with SQLite. We're going to get data now from a web service using the HTTP client that we have there. And I'm being a good internet citizen here by not just creating the HTTP client, but also I'm telling folks that my user agent's name is my newsreader. This way they know and they can kind of figure out who's making these calls into our content, into our servers to get this content. You're letting them know you're being, even though they might not be able to find my newsreader, they've at least got a little bit of information to reach out to you to say, hey, can you optimize how often you're hitting our web server? And at least it doesn't keep you in the same boat and wrapped up with other browsers and things that are hitting them. Kind of sets you apart. So we'll create a method here that will actually use that client to get data. Now, I mentioned we created our little RSS class here that is going to be the strongly typed version of that data that we're returning. There is a syndication feed class, and I'll probably migrate to that as well. So let's add a method here, get content for feed, and let's pass in a source URL that we're going to navigate to. Show me what you got there, Copilot. Didn't think so. So we're going to go get some data. We're going to say await. Look at that. HTTP client, get asynchronously from that address that was passed in. Fantastic. If it wasn't successful, I'm just going to return an empty thing here. I should raise some sort of error message. I don't have a URL to return. I don't have a screen to work with because I'm a service. I could throw an exception here. Right? Throw new exception. Yeah. Right? And now I could handle that where it makes this call. So. All right. So if I did get content. Yeah. Close. I wrote a deserialize class earlier. A deserialize static method that will take in XML and output an RSS object, right? I showed you this back here way earlier in the day. I wrote this. So it takes in XML and uses a serializer that I created that knows how to talk to the RSS format that we copied in and is going to output it in that appropriate object type. So now I've got my content. And what I could do, I could clear this out. And I could stash it. I could cache it locally. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But I just want to return that RSS. I could just do that. Let's just do that for now. I'll figure out caching and stuff later. So it's going to return the RSS for that. Good. Let's go back to my add newsfeed view model. So when that source URL was set, we can wire up an event handler. Remember I was saying this raises an event and lets you know, hey, this thing changed. Let's put an event handler on that. And look, it's got these little event handlers for me. On feed title changed, on feed title changing, on source URL changed, on source URL changing. After it's been changed, right? Let's go get what that thing is. So now I can say service get content for feed, and I'll pass in the URL that we're going to. Right? Now that's a task. I don't necessarily want to do just RSS equals that. But more, I need to continue with and do something with this. Right? I'm going to say feed title equals R result. And now I'm into the RSS feed. I'm going to reach into the channel object, and I'm going to grab the title that the feed gave itself. Okay? So this event's going to run. It's going to get content for the feed. It's going to reach out to that RSS location and get that value. Then it's going to continue along, and in the RSS data that was returned, grab the channel, the title of the channel that came back, and assign that into our feed title. Nope. What do you mean there's errors? There's no errors. Works just fine. Build started. Deploy succeeded. Here we go. So now we've got these two out here. Now I can add a feed, and let's choose, I'm going to choose TechCrunch over here and use theirs, right? So I'm going to go into the feed URL, set that, and there you go. It filled in TechCrunch. It went and got the data, identified what the title was, and popped it into the top box. And now I click Add Feed, and now I've got TechCrunch added in. Let's do Rolling Stone while we're here. So I will grab their URL, right? Now notice it didn't clear it out. There, it automatically refreshed it. Right? After we're done adding, we should clear out those values. Which means we need a few more checks here. Right? If string is null or empty value, don't do anything. And after we're done saving, right? After we've been successful saving there, let's reset these values. Feed title equals string empty. So now that clears it all out. Let's do the same thing down in the cancel. So before we navigate, clear out those values. So, right, and these are the steps that, gosh, we want to clean up a little bit after we're done these couple things. Now let's rerun this and see what it looks like. Let me catch up with chat. Sax Guy with Dog says, whoa, mind blown. Haven't seen that sort of stuff before. Looks like magic. Right? This is what makes this productive. You don't have to write these things. We're literally saying, when this happens, go do this other thing. When you're done doing this, do that other thing. There is no chasing of things. It's all event-driven programming. That's so cool. Let's add another feed. Let's add another feed. I'm going to type in, oh, did I put, I don't know if my blog was in there. Sure, we'll put my blog in there. Right? Feed URL. There it is. That's going to take its good old time coming back because my blog is slow. Yep, look at that. Error while fetching that. We should add some error handling around that, right? Right? If r dot result right, it returned a new RSS. So there. No, if we say result dot channel is null because there's nothing in there. Return, we could do some other notification in there. Yeah, what if we don't put a valid RSS feed URL in? There's another good one. Fritz's blog is already in there. Let's add a different one. I'll add NPR. Right, and we should probably put the URL at the top. What do we got? We got an exception coming through. Yeah, it threw an exception. So, right, we could say if r dot is faulted, right? And just fail silently. Because the task threw an error. So add feed in the URL, there it is, and nothing comes back. I could do something to add a validator and show what that looks like. We could go to sinclairnator.com/RSS. Is that a thing? Can we go to that one? Is that really a place that I can go, or is it just a place where they sell beans? And you can absolutely put your URL there, Jeremy. That's not a problem. Yeah, let's put that one in, right? Right, if I put that in, say it didn't. There we go. So now add that and it knows what that is. I don't have a way to delete. I'll let you figure out how to add delete buttons. So as an extra feature for you to add. Yeah. Will we be able to watch this again on Twitch right after the live is done? Yes, you will. In fact, you can rewind if you'd like on Twitch. That's available. Yep, delete entry. Leave that up to you. For right now, while we're debugging, I'll just go into my folder over here and delete it. And rerun it. So these little exercises left for the viewer, I think they're things that are important for completeness that are easy for now that you understand the basics of here's how to add, here's how to get. Well, delete's just another step there that you can now add in. Add an X over here maybe that just deletes that entry. So I have this in here. Let me go put give me one of those. Right. That's where mine is, but it's a feed burner URL that it routes to. There it is. Right, so if we add that, there it goes. So now we got 2 blogs out there that we can go to. Adding a gesture to delete the labels. You got delete in the labels. Exactly. Exactly. So I've got a couple things here that it knows how to go and present. And we've figured out how to go and derive those names. Awesome. Not bad. Way to start a little bit of this retrieve information. Almost time for some next steps. Almost time to actually put that content somewhere on screen. So let's create a little intermediary cache inside of our service, right? So I already had that feeds collection up here. So when we get the feeds here, right, let's put them into that in-memory collection there. So what I'll do is I'll say if feeds.any, return, I can get rid of the task from result because I now have an async in here. Return that collection. So otherwise here I will say, right, it's a dictionary. That's fine. And we're going to return that, but I'm going to cache it in memory first by saying feeds add. Oh, I can't do an add range. Fine. We'll say feeds add, and no, because we're going to get the results and stash it in here, cache it over there. So additionally, then when we did add feed, and no, now it's in our feeds list. Cool. I see a couple questions coming up there. Now that we've added this little bit of caching, so it's not constantly hitting the database, we can do some more fun here. Let me catch up with chat. GW Oz Trays. Oh my goodness. Does MAUI convert into native controls, or does it draw itself like Flutter does? I believe it draws itself. Don't quote me on that. I would defer to the MAUI team. I'm not sure. It does use native controls. Thank you, President. Not sure one. I'm thinking of Skia Sharp, and there's folks that have been putting together components that draw that. Yeah. Sax Guy with Dog says, of course, if you delete, it adds some complexity to any sync behavior you introduce to make the database the same across different platforms. Exactly. So that does make sense that it uses native controls because of how it goes to all four. You're right. So, I got confused with, there's another product out there that does use Skia to do the drawing. Too many products. It's kind of like sneakers. Too many secrets. So now I have my little in-memory cache of these. I need to start loading some of that content with what I found. So when I say get content for feed and I specify a URL, well, I don't want to just straight deserialize and put this out here, right? I could look in my cache first and return that, right? Right, I could say force equals false. If not, force and feeds, and we will look at is a key source URL equals the source URL that was submitted, and we will do that with string comparison invariant. So if we're not forcing, and it does find it in our feed collection, actually we want to do, and first or, do I want to do first or default? No, I want to do I'm going to end up doing that query twice. You like the sneakers reference for those of us with colorful beards? I used to color my beard like a rainbow. Now, age has done that for me. Line 61 is triggering you? Which one's line 61? That right there? Sorry. I like it there. So if it is present, And there is... Right, I need to go find that one. Am I missing a paren there? Let's back this up. Because that is pretty complex. No, that's good. So it found it. And value is not null. We're going to return that value. Cool. Otherwise, yeah. So if it is in, right? So if we do have it in our little cache, we will say this is going to be a mess. Yeah, that's not going to work. Oh, good luck, Sean. I could do first or default. You're right. Why doesn't it like that? Because it's a key value pair. It's telling me it's always going to have one then. But here I need to assign it. There we go. Yep, go ahead and run it. I'll do it as is newsfeed. Yeah. Yeah. So let's add one. And I'll add the Visual Studio Teams blog. Not Visual Studio, the dev blog. There it is. Add that. Boom. There we go. Okay. Fantastic. We've got these loaded. We need to actually show some content for these now. It'd be great to be able to click this, navigate to that way to the right, and show the actual content of that blog. Now it's going to get easy. Now it's going to get easy. We're going to add a news feed. We're going to add a news feed page. We've already got it out there called feed content. And this is going to take another view model, a feed view model, that's going to interact with our service to grab the RSS out of it and display it on screen. So let's do it. So newsfeed view model inherits from base view model, and we're going to start adding, here's the items on the newsfeed. So let's do it. We'll put a constructor out here. That's too basic a constructor because I need the service. So there, and thank you, Visual Studio. Yes, please call it service. And while you're at it, create a read-only field for me for that, if you don't mind. Por favor. I love throwing such a ugly American accent on something that is patently French. Because I know it's just dumb. I know it is. But it kind of puts an edge on it, like I'm trying to be a little bit more formal and polite. But I'm American. And a lot of Americans are kind of rude like that. I like to be nice to folks from other places. All right, so let's do this. Por favor is Spanish? I thought por favor was... you're right. You're right. I'm confused. I have friends from Texas who speak a bit of Spanish, and I'm confusing. You're right. I stand corrected. Thank you, chat. All right, here we go. So I've received my service. Very off topic. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Yes. I need to receive that news feed, the information about what it was that we went and got. So let's create a field for that, and I will make this an observable property so we can display information about that on the screen. And we're also going to put some content out here. That will be an observable property as it gets loaded from either our cache or from the remote service. So, and I thought I saw, did I see Rita there earlier? Dialing in from Berlin. Thank you so much. My gosh, I suddenly remember seeing that and I meant to say hello. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. So we need to decide which feed to load. When we navigate here, we're going to be sent some sort of information. Here's the feed to load. Now, if I was in ASP.NET Core, I might pass it as a what looks like a folder on the URL string, and it's a routing parameter, and we've got routing in .NET MAUI. Let's wire this up as a route parameter that's being passed in to this page, our newsfeed page, right? And we can interact with it. So what we're going to do up top here, we're going to decorate the view model with a query property attribute. This is going to capture a property that's being passed in on the query string in the internal routing that .NET MAUI is doing, right? The app shell has routing capabilities, and just like we would put into our web page, right? /products/ whatever, Parcheesi board game, right? That you're searching your board game website and you're going to the Parcheesi board game to look up, right? And Parcheesi board game is clearly a parameter that you're passing into your board game details page. Same thing here. We're going to pass into this. Well, what field are we going to assign this to? We're going to assign this to the feed field that this observable property just created. And the query ID that we're going to attach that to, well, let's just call it feed. Don't beat around the bush. It's the same thing. Don't need to go create 3 different names for the same thing. So it's going to receive that and assign that here. Okay. So let's wire this up a little bit more here. So my view model is going to hook up to, where's my feed content XAML? Now I've already added into this. My view model is pointing to the view models folder, so I have a reference to that. This is the models folder contains the RSS and the news feed object, so I can reference that. And the data type for the entire page is the newsfeed view model that we're working with. Good. This page also, it's receiving that newsfeed view model, and setting up the binding context to point to that thing. So now that I have this, we can start putting content on the XAML for it. So the title, I don't want to be the feed. I'd really like it to come from the channel, the content that we're binding to. So, right, I could just make this binding to feed.title. And that's the title that I put into, right, that I put into the database for this thing. Okay. Let's start with putting a little header up at the top that says the title and maybe the image that goes with the channel that we're displaying. So I'm going to start with a stack layout. To put things vertically. The first thing we're going to put on there is... Oh! No. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. No. I'm going to stack sideways here. Yes! That's close. I'm going to put the title of it. But I don't want to put that. Let's put the image. Well, I don't have the RSS here yet. Let's start with that. Start with that. We'll make this fancier in just a little bit. And I'm going to end up with a collection view here that will bind to the RSS. We don't have that yet. But let's get this wired up so we can at least see this bit before we go and wire up all the RSS stuff. So I've got my feed content. I'll go back to App Shell. And you'll see my feed content is already set up for routing. But I need to put into my news feed list a way to navigate to these pages, right? I need to be able to have a command that says, go over there. All right. That should be easy. So we have get feeds, news feeds, add feeds. So let's add another relay command, async task, and this time we're going to go to news feed. Oh my gosh, Johan, thank you so much for the resub, 52 months, and we're going to make another donation to our Raspberry Pi computer classroom for the kids at St. Jude. Thank you so much for your support. You were trying to set up a web weather radar using Leaflet and data from the NOAA, and surprised that Copilot generated about a quarter of the code for you. Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. Look at this already. Look at that. Shell current. Use the current shell. Go to async. I don't want to create this huge address here. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. Hey, Justin, let me come back to your question in just a minute. How you doing there, Xcoding? I know that we're going to the feed content page. Yes, animated to get there. But I'm going to pass in a dictionary of content, string and object content that we're going to pass into that page. In particular, right, just like we told it over here, we're passing in to the feed object down here, which is looking for a news feed type and the name feed. So the name feed and a news feed object, there it is. We're just going to grab that thing, pass that along. And now it knows how to navigate over to the other page and bring along the news feed that was selected. Let's wire this command up to the screen, right? See how repetitive this is? Now we're going back, wire it up to the screen, connect it back through. So up here, I had my item template. We need to set up that item template so that it knows that when we click on it, go trigger this command to do the navigation. So I'm going to put it inside the vertical stack here. We might end up putting it somewhere else later. So I am going to put in the vertical stack. Come on, give me the vertical stack layout. Gesture recognizers. So this is a way for us to say there's gestures, there's interactions that happen with this object and what you should do when they happen. In particular here, look at this. I'm going to set up a tap gesture recognizer that's going to trigger a command and pass in the information that we want to send into that command. So we're going to bind, I think this is, it's not quite there. It's not quite there. Not this, but, right, we're going to bind actually to a relative source. We're going to go actually and look for a type. And we want the view model. We're looking for the newsfeed view list. Make sure I got. I don't think I want that one just yet. And there's a, yep, there we go. Path is not tap command. No. We're going to say go to news feed command. It's not giving me the autocomplete. That's fine. The command parameter, I believe I want it to be the current object. That should have gotten the same thing, but. So now I've got a tap gesture that's going to reach back to the view model object, find the go to feed command, pass in this object. I like it. Let's see if this works. Let's see if we got this working, and then I'm going to catch up on chat there. I see some friends out there we need to say hello to. I missed something. Closing tag for stack layout. I think that's over here. Yeah. I forgot to close that. Friends, kids, tell your friends, tell your developer friends that when you start a tag, end the tag also. Friends help friends. So now when I click on one of these, it navigates through and I get a nice little title, and that's tiny, but it also put the title up here in my title bar. Nice. All right, that's a start. We're getting somewhere. We're navigated through. We still got to put the RSS content in here. Let me take a look at chat. Let me catch up. There was a question or two that came through there. Justin with a question. How you doing there? The bald-bearded builder is here with a bang. Justin has a question. Let's go to that. With the .NET MAUI app running on Windows or macOS, are we sandboxed in a way that would prevent launching other EXEs from the MAUI app? I believe not. I believe you can launch other executables from within it with a process start command. I believe you can do that. I know some folks have been, I thought they built that, and I know you can launch at least the browser from within it, so I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't tried it myself, but I'm nearly positive you can do this. Yes, there's our friend, the bald-bearded builder. You don't want to be that guy, but having lived through Pirate Jeff, Squirrel Jeff, Purple Blazer Jeff, Clippy Jeff, yeah, I've done a number of those things. You're a little disappointed we didn't get grass skirt and a Hawaiian shirt Jeff with this workshop? Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Don't tell that DD Walsh. Stay tuned. She might be out there listening. Might. Maui man. Uh-oh. See, look at that. I spoke up, and Brady went over to the remote control for his TV there and said, Fritz is doing something stupid. I got to turn this up. Turn that up. What's going on over there? I don't know. Let's figure out how to put this RSS content on the screen and make this look a little bit nicer. We have some of the information coming through on our feed content. We have our news feed view model over here. You would totally expect Sarah or Dee Dee to have shipped a grass skirt weeks ago. Look at this guy. He's playing on a whole different level. He's playing a whole different game. My gosh, he's like the Savannah Bananas. He's playing a whole different game. They're lined up on a baseball field, but they're not playing baseball. They're playing something else. You're excited to have an RSS app you can use soon? Well, let's start doing a little bit more here. So I know I've got the feed loaded here when that's set. Well, I want to go get the RSS content to go with it. So how do I wire that up? I have an event handler because this is an observable property. So when that feed is set, let's go get the content and set that so it can be painted on the screen. Let's do it. So we have a partial method here. These are event handlers that we can implement that are made available to us by the community toolkit. So on feed changed. So once we have a feed, let's load it up. Let's go get the content and paint it on the screen. All right, so we're going to clear out that content. No content. So that it's clear and we refresh that. It doesn't look goofy. Let's mark the page as busy. And I'm going to say service get content for feed, and we're passing in a source URL. All right. So I'm going to say value source URL. Now, when that's done, right, I can do the same continue with bit here. Right, and I can say the content is that result. And since it's done loading, oh, come on. What? I hit caps lock, that's why. Is busy equals false. Yes, look, I've got title there twice, don't I? Where was that? I've done it again. No, we're good there. Let it rebuild. Let it regenerate. Hey, Frank. Hello, hello. There we go. So now when I click into one of these, it's loaded the RSS for it. We can't see it yet, but we have it. Next steps. Let's paint something on the screen here. So I'm going to go down into, where was my XAML page? Here. And we're going to output a collection view for this. So that's not too bad, because we already know how to do this, right? We just did it on the front page. We're going to do it again here. So I need an item source, and we're going to bind it to, I've got an object called content. I'm going to reach into the channel, and I want to get the item collection. What are the items that are on the list? I don't want you to be able to select any of these items. We're going to be able to click on them at some point. And vertical options, let's put them at the top and expand down. That works. Item templates. Oh, look at that. Now, this would be if we created our own separate feed view collection somewhere else. I don't have that. We're just going to embed it right here. Embed our data template. We're going to specify the data type. There it is. And that's going to be a... Oh, come on. RSS channel item. There it is, highlighted. Good, 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 good. All right. What are we putting inside here? What is this tabs window I have? Here, above me, I'm using vertical tabs in Visual Studio. So instead of having these things right across the top, like that, some of us like to have them right there above me, so I can see all of my tabs and flip through them quickly. All right, so collection view, I've got a data template. Inside of here, let's put a little vertical stack layout again. That's really good. That's really good. Get up. I like where you're going there. Yeah, right? How you doing there, Panda? So... Is that all we need? Is that it? Might be. Nope. I forgot to close... See, friends tell friends to close your XML tags when you key them in. Yeah, that's vertical tabs in Visual Studio. So now when I click into Microsoft Developer Blogs, I've got content. It's ugly, but I've got content. Let's make this a little bit better looking. Let's start sprucing this up a little bit here. So, because we want Brady's blog post to look good over here. So where I had title and this over here, we know there's an image that goes with this, and I don't really need that label there. So let's put an image. That's so close that it's wrong. The source, the URL that we're pulling this from, yeah, stuff. We got stuff. I'm actually going to reach into the content, the channel, and there's an, yep, there it is, image, and I'm going to output the URL so we have that image over here on the side. And let's make that, I can force the size of this. We'll make that 50 by 50. Let me see here. Megas where? Is there a difference between stack layout orientation horizontal and horizontal stack layout? I don't think so. I think one's just a shortcut for the other. Now, what do we do if the URL doesn't exist? Good question. So, I've secretly replaced and created inside the method here, inside the structure. Where did it go? I created, is it on the other half? Well, you weren't looking. Nope, I did put it over here like a bad person. This, I put that in the wrong place. It should be over here. I created a little property that checks to see, well, is the image, is that value null? And this is actually, that should be inside of another partial class. Yeah, inside the partial RSS channel. So let's do this. No. It does exist. They do exist. That should work. Come on. find it. What are you doing? Build failed. Type name link only contains one. What? That's a warning. RSS channel is less accessible than... Did I mess that up? Public partial class RSS channel. Stop it. Dragon. Oh, look. Yes. See, this looks like things didn't build quite right. Didn't code gen. Yeah, things didn't code gen quite right there. Clean and rebuild. Let me see here. Hey, Restaurandi Vosen, good to see you. Yeah, we're gonna do a check here. If it doesn't exist... Well, now I've done it. Put it back. Put it back. So I just added that so that I have a property inside my feed content. I can say is visible. Content channel image is visible, and that'll be true false, and it'll show hide appropriately. And then I have my label. Let's add the channel description with this if there is one, right? So I'll do one more stack layout. Let's do this as vertical stack layout just to kind of make it a little clearer. Holy smokes. Put some padding in here. So top, right, bottom, left. 10 pixels across the top. But that'll appear next to that. Title and a description below it. Large, small, yeah. Do that again. And hopefully stuff doesn't break. There we go. So now if we go into, I'll go into the .NET blog. Microsoft developer blogs get the latest information, insights, announcements, and news from Microsoft. Nice. And we got a nice little logo in the corner. If we go to another less sophisticated blog that doesn't have an image over there, doesn't show the image, and it's right up against the side. I like it. Sax Guy with Dogs asks, this is doing a pull from the source URL when you select that RSS entry from the main list, requiring a network connection to allow that to work. Yes. There's no persistence of that info previously pulled, so no offline reading. Not currently. Not currently. It's right now, I'm just putting it in memory. We have the database. We could save that to disk so that it's there and you can reload it later if you'd like. Oh my gosh, look who's here. It's our friends from Gunner Optics. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Yes, I am a Gunner Optics ambassador. You like? These are my Razor Torpedo 360s. I've had these for 6 months, 9 months. Great pair of glasses. Really enjoy these because they wrap around a little bit, so I don't have the light coming in from the sides. It's the same concept as you see the folks with the mirrored sunglasses when they're outside and it wraps around and they can't see around that. So really cool stuff. Big fan of those. Are the gunner optics? Are they still here? I know I took my time getting to the chat there because we were writing some code. Are they still here? Yeah. Someone clip that? Absolutely. Go ahead. Go ahead and grab a clip of that. I'll even click the clip that. We could do. Can we do a giveaway? Can we give away some gunners? I do a giveaway? We can do that. Let me finish formatting this, and then I think we'll do a gunner glasses giveaway here on stream. What are the gunners? So check out just below me here. There's gunner glasses. There's a link to them, link to their website. The computer glasses that I have here, these are called the Razer Torpedo. Let me head back over here. These are the Razer Torpedo 360. You see, they come around. They have a little bit of side shielding, which is really nice because none of the side light gets in. But they have all kinds of glasses that are out there that look fantastic on everybody and anybody. I have a pair of glasses here that were from our St. Jude drive. These are called, I keep forgetting the name, the Vertex, that are red and white, a little bit smaller, but a pair that I don't see my lightning pair here. I think they're on the shelf over there. Pair that I really like. I'm a huge fan of Marvel. The Edith Tony Stark glasses. Very cool. So they make these glasses with the computer lenses to help filter out blue light. They also make these with a prescription. So if you need bifocals like I do, they can put that in there so that you don't need to change and put on contacts to put on your glasses so that you can see better and protect your eyes. So that's what gunners are. Thank you so much for dropping in, friends. Let me top left God mode enabled. My goodness. You used Xamarin for indoor navigation. Is Maui built on top of Xamarin? Asks Pozelski. .NET MAUI is the next evolution of Xamarin, right? It's the natural evolution as the Xamarin tools got merged and added in to .NET 6. So now there can be only one .NET, and that's all loaded up in there. Do they have a driving set? So the lanky Scottish nerd, there are lenses that you can get that will transition. Or, I'm sorry, no, you can get swap-in lenses. I don't know if they have transition. They have swap-in lenses that you can replace that are intended for seeing outside in the sunlight. Dark mode glasses available. Oh, you're killing me there. Yeah.